Hi, welcome to my book talk. I'm here today to discuss a little bit about the school and what students take away from school. Now we start school about probably 4 or 5 years old, and we end up at our senior year to about 17, 18. And I'm not very good at quick math, but I know that's a very long time and not a whole lot of time off from school, except for summers and Christmas break. So, of course, we take away from school what? The academic part of it. Schools, we learn how to count money, know where stuff is in the world, geography, science, about photosynthesis and how rain is produced and all that good stuff. And we do need all of that to really be the people who we are and be successful. But also, what about the stuff that's not really in the brain, such as like the academic standing, but in here, about the social part of us and the emotional part of us? Well, school does play a huge, crucial role in determining the student's needs and how, if they're met or not. Studies show that if emotionally a student is not met in those needs, they're more likely to fail in life, such as they will have poor academic standing, probably not start a career, or even possibly commit crime. So those students who have met their emotional needs, however, are able to do good in school, have high academic achievement, start a career, make good choices in life. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Kaylin Phillip. My content is physical education. And my article that I'm going to discuss today to everyone is called Developing Students' Emotional Well-Being in Physical Education. Now, this article comes from the Journal of Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance. It's volume number 85, number 4, and it was published in April of 2014, so it's fairly new, and it's fairly up with educational's changing standards, and it's also pages 28 through 33 if you want to decide to read it. And to begin the article, it basically just says what I just told you. It gives you studies and gives you facts on how students, or why, if students aren't emotionally met their needs, then what can happen. So let's start with talking about how physical education really affects kids' emotions, students' emotions. So, physical education is a totally different setting. It's not behind a desk usually. It's not, a quiet area. It's mostly get out there, be active, blow off some steam, and really show probably a student's true feelings. So they're not going to sit there and be loud in class and, try to challenge their friends and see who's the fastest runner. That's mostly a physical education setting. It's shown that students who are active in sports and participate in physical education are more likely to have positive feelings about themselves. And, they're more likely to be outgoing and to want to join more sports groups and sports teams and participate and aren't going to be shy or held back. Those who do not participate in sports can really, are more likely to be depressed or be bored. And so even though physical education is a different setting, it's the goal of physical education is still the same as a normal classroom. For instance, in PE, you have goal setting. Okay, the students can set their own goals, and they will, hopefully have a ladder program. When they meet one goal, go to the next one, have an ultimate goal that they can achieve. Same thing in a classroom. A student has goals they need to achieve, and, the teacher or the student possibly will set those goals. And when they achieve those goals, whether it be in any class, whatever classroom it is, the student will gain this confidence, this power of, I can do this. And then, and that's what we're here for. That's what schools are. That's what part of their program is to do, to build students emotionally in a positive way and to get them confidence. Now, PE can also turn that ego into something bad. For instance, if a student doesn't perform a task well, that can bring the student down emotionally. And it's important for teachers to understand and to notice when a student is going down that path of not being able to achieve something, and the teacher needs to find out what's going on and really talk to that student just to make sure their ego is going up instead of down. So with all this talk about emotional well-being and emotional needs, what is emotional wellness? Well, The article states that emotion is a subjective reaction to an important event and involves distinct psychological changes such as heart rate, body temperature, or breathing. The concept of well-being can be defined as a state of being comfortable, happy, healthy, or prosperous. Therefore, the emotional well-being refers to the emotional quality of an individual's daily experience, the frequency and intensity of experiences of interest, excitement, joy, pleasure, enjoyment, happiness, hope, or pride that makes one's life pleasant. So basically that means it's how a person develops their happy, healthy life. Everything that we take in on a daily basis is how we determine our lifestyle, if it's happy and healthy. So how do we develop a student's emotional well-being in physical education? This article takes 4 dimensions, and they have put it in an acronym, which education loves acronyms, and it's STEP: students, teachers, environment, and program. All 4 of these concepts come together and are crucial to the development of the student's emotional needs and if they are met. Okay, so the first concept is student. So the student, they need to learn how to lose. I hate saying that first off, but that's what the article states. Whenever their student is learning something new, which in physical education they learn different concepts of physical activity. Let's give an example of throwing. They learn throwing for the first time ever in their life. They're going to have issues with it. So a student needs to understand that it is okay to not be good at something, and they need to understand that practicing something is what you need to do to have perfection of that. Not necessarily perfect, but in order to grasp that fully. So that's the first concept. And then a student also needs to realize that it's okay to show those emotions and not hold them inside. For instance, if a student is having those negative emotions, to ask questions or to ask his fellow student or the teacher, and that it's okay to do that. And then if a student doesn't feel comfortable doing that, then they need to write it in a journal. It's a big part of PE to start a journal, and that they can write down their emotions that they're feeling and how they dealt with those emotions, and also show that other emotions that other people in their class are feeling and how they dealt with those emotions. Now on to the T for teachers. Teachers play a crucial role in the students learning the correct information for the class. So back to the throwing example. If a student is struggling with learning how to throw, the teacher needs to recognize that and give positive feedback and positive reinforcements. The teacher also needs to learn how to know how to handle any type of behavior, whether it's good behavior, such as they're getting it and they're happy about it, and learn so the teacher can praise them, or if it's behavior to where they're upset and they're frustrated, they don't want to do this anymore. So the teacher needs to know how to handle that as well. The teacher needs to be ready for that before it even happens. And whenever a student or teacher has a different amount of students and they all have different learning abilities, a teacher needs to know how to hit every single one of those learning styles without going way out of context. For example, on throwing, they need to learn how to demonstrate it, explain it, and have the students perform it. And also possibly have a students do some peer teaching or some group teaching. The student might not understand what a teacher's saying about throwing, but then they put him with another student and a student explains it where another student can understand it better. The next one is environment, which of course the environment always needs to be a safe environment for the students. And a teacher really needs to explain safety so a student can also look out for some safety issues. And along with being safe, it needs to be a positive environment. The teacher and the students need to have a good relationship. When a teacher and the students have good relationships going in, that environment is a carefree environment and it's a appealing environment for students. The last part is program, which basically is the literature of the lesson. For example, it needs to be age appropriate. You don't want to teach, say, preschool or something that a senior in high school PE would do. It needs to be broken down. It needs to be real for that age, because if it's not for that age group and it's too challenging, it could really hurt a student's emotional well-being. I know students want to be successful and they can't do it because it's too difficult. They probably put it on themselves, and then that's not right. Along with being age appropriate, it needs to be something that's intriguing for the students. It needs to be, of course, there's a lecture part of the lesson when they learn, but there also needs to be some type of activity to where it draws the students in, and some, they need to demonstrate and actually do this lesson and hands-on, so they can learn it better, and it targets all learning styles. So with all that being said, the STEP framework is a very crucial part of the education, physical education part of schools. It really needs to be pursued. It really needs to be pursued correctly, because it really can strengthen a student's emotional well-being. The TEKS that this article really hits with are the TEKS that mention a student being able to, and the TEKS that it mentions of the enjoyment of the activities is an all level, whether it be elementary, middle school, and high school. This would help hit every TEK in that field. And this is a really great article, and it really teaches me a lot as a future physical education teacher, that it really does. It's really important, of course, for students to hit and to know their psychomotor skills, and whether it be anaerobic or aerobic skills, but also it's really important that we keep in mind of their emotional needs, so that they're able to be the most successful person they can be in the future.